So, as you know, we are the Talkin Buds Leafs themed podcast. So, one of my favorite things that I like to do when I talk to a fan of another team is to get their take on these guys that we just obsess over.
I know you guys do too. I
Yeah,
listen
yeah,
to the
that like,
podcast.
yeah, that we as collective Leaf Nation just like nothing else exists outside of these players. So I'm just gonna throw some names at you and just tell me the first thing that comes to mind and
Yeah.
what you think. Mitch Marner.
You know what? Kind of fell asleep last year during the qualifying round a little bit. You know, that kind of irked me a bit. But you know what? A big time talent. And we're talking about a top 15 talent in the league. I know he's up there in scoring right now, but when everything's said and done, if he's not part of the top 15 scoring in the league, which is phenomenal for the Maple Leafs, I'd be shocked. I really would.
William Nylander.
You know what? I like William Nylander, but from a Leafs perspective, I look at him as the piece that can be moved for something you really need.
Yeah.
And your defense is something you really need. I'm not saying you're going to score a frontline defenseman, but you might have to package up. I know it's an old take, but you may have to package a guy like that because he can score 30 goals and he can be a top 6 forward and a draft pick or something to get something you need. But yeah, it's they're blessed up front. They really are.
Freddie Andersen.
I've had a like-hate relationship with Fred Andersen. Covering this team as much as I have, and you guys both know this, I used to follow this team on a beat-by-beat basis before I got into radio. I always thought Fred Andersen was going to be the piece that was going to help this team get to the next level, but in the time he's been here with the Toronto Maple Leafs, he has shown to be a very good regular season goaltender, but for some reason that postseason has the hiccup, allows the bad goal. Something happens after he makes 30 brilliant saves that this team somehow loses. And you can't place this all on Fred Andersen, but I get the sense, I don't know about you guys, but I get the sense that this is Fred Andersen's last year. And perhaps on that list of wants in the offseason might be a goaltender. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it this year, to tell you the honest truth, because as you remember in the offseason, there was a laundry list of really good goaltenders out there. And there will be coming up too during the Seattle draft, because Seattle, as you remember, with the Golden Knights, they have the opportunity to probably draft about 5 or 6 goaltenders, and some of those goaltenders may be starters because teams cannot hang on to goaltenders. Maybe the Leafs tap that market and find out what they want. And also consider this: Fred Andersen isn't a Kyle Dubas guy. He was inherited by Kyle Dubas. Sometimes that makes a difference.
Yes. I agree with you. I was shocked that they didn't make a move this offseason because of the wealth of goalies that were available, but I also agree with your second point that I do think this is his last season between the pipes.
Yeah, Dave, I get a little scared with Freddie because I try to cheer him on the best I can because of what you just said. It's just, if he leaves, then what do they have? I don't want to go back to the James Reimers, the Berniers. He may not be taking them to the next level, but he's still good enough to get them to a certain level. And I just don't, they have no one coming up, and they're going to have to make a significant move to get him. So it kind of frightens me to see a Maple Leaf team without Freddie Andersen, especially if they don't go out and get somebody who's good enough to replace him.
And that might be just the scenario, right? It might be a guy that you have to pull a trade. You have to make a deal to bring in a goaltender because you don't have in the system. I always thought, and I was kind of high on him when they selected him, but I thought Joseph Woll was going to turn out to be something. I haven't given up on him at all, but you'd think by now he'd start to crack through. You know, like you guys remember, and I remember this because I was actually on the beat when it happened. Tuukka Rask and Justin Pogge were ready. We're ready to make the jump. The Leafs thought Justin Pogge was the guy, so Tuukka Rask leaves, and well, we know what happens there. Pogge comes in and fails, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they're in that situation where they have that type of goaltending depth where you're like, okay, we've got the starter for the Canadian juniors and maybe the best European prospect goaltender in a long time. Where are we going to go with this? So they don't have that scenario, but you know what? There's always a goaltender to be grabbed. There's always a goaltender that a team has given up on. And I think they'll be able to fill that position within a trade, and it's probably not going to cost them as heavy as it would if you wanted to bring in a top defenseman.
Auston Matthews,
top 5 player in the world.
Yeah,
top 5. My only thing though, and you guys aren't going to like this, I'm not sure if Auston Matthews is here after the contract. I'm really not.
Yeah, I don't. Here's my take on that. I don't disagree with you, but I do disagree when people say he'll want to go home to Arizona. It's like one thing we've learned about Auston Matthews since we've been here, he likes being a celebrity. He likes being boys with Bieber. He likes being big time. So if he was going to leave, I could see him leaving to become a New York Ranger,
sure,
an LA King, a Pittsburgh Penguin, like another big, like a big U.S. market that cares about hockey.
Sure.
I don't see him going to play in front of 6 people in Arizona, no matter what his emotional ties are to the market. And
let's be honest, guys. How long is the Phoenix / Arizona Coyotes actually going to be in that market?
Yeah,
like they've been hanging on by a thread for so long, and they've had countless owners come in and out. They've had more owners than they have like goaltending combos. You know what I mean? And it's like, can you really sit there and tell me by 2024 there'll still be a team in the desert named the Coyotes? I don't even know if you can say that, right? That's an X factor as well.
Well, my hot take of hot takes is, even though the contract length isn't the same, I don't think Connor McDavid's re-signing with the Edmonton Oilers if they keep continuing on this track. And he's kind of around my age group, and I know a lot of people who have connections with him, and he's got a big cottage up in Muskoka. He's got properties here, and I'm starting to think that maybe if you were to wish that maybe could happen, because I know he loves being in Toronto.
Yep. Yeah, and not surprising at all. I remember a couple of years before John Tavares was almost a free agent, and even obviously before that it was Steven Stamkos who last minute decided to run away from the heavier contract with Toronto, but whatever. I look at the Tavares situation similar to the McDavid situation, and I would be shocked if Connor McDavid wasn't a Toronto Maple Leaf before his career calls it a day. I just don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah. So here's a bit of a different one. Kyle Dubas.
Ooh. I thought when they had to make the decision between the 3 horses, I thought Lou Lamoriello was going to be the extended general manager. I really did. I know Lou is a little cap heavy at times where he does certain things, and sometimes he overspends, and other times he'll get players for what they're supposed to be. And I wish personally, watching a Maple Leaf team, that Lou Lamoriello was in charge of the re-signing of Mitch Marner, and Lou was in charge of the Auston Matthews extension, because I think those guys would still be in place, and I think those guys they'd still have money to work with.
Yes.
That would be my thing. Kyle Dubas hasn't done a bad job, but I think he was a silver medalist that won that event just because of Brendan Shanahan, who wanted his guy, because remember, it was Brendan Shanahan who hired Kyle Dubas first before Lou Lamoriello came in. It was a weird system, wasn't it? When you look at it, Shanahan gets the coach, gets this guy, that's that guy, and then all of a sudden it's Lou Lamoriello. It's like there has to be a pecking order that you have to hire guys from. Now they have it in order. They really do, because Dubas is Sheldon Keefe's guy.
Yes.
Or other way around, I should say. And Dubas is obviously the Shanahan hire. So it makes sense. But for a while there, that was really out of whack.
I didn't Shanny block him from interviewing in Colorado too.
Colorado.
Yes. So that's another thing.
When you sense that, you almost think to yourself, well, if you're going to do that, then there must be a position at the end of this line for a Kyle Dubas, and sure enough, he was right.